Today we have something great to talk about. Probably one of my favorite topics or one of my favorite subjects that, well, actually, I was about to say that I've learned, and that's how I want to dive into it today. So, this year for the Saints, for my basketball team, we had something called a connection piece where we would connect with our different teammate before every practice and talk about a certain topic or subject that myself or Ezza would, as is our coach, would bring up. So, he would leave some of them to me, like, Marns, can you lead our connection piece? And we're going to talk about this. And the reason I bring this up is because one of them was to get into partners and share something that you've learned over the years or an important thing that you've learned. And the first thing that came to mind was when I learned about projections and when I learned about the universe being a mirror. And that was what I shared. I can't remember exactly. I think I was with H. Yeah, I was with H. I was with Hiram. And I said to him, I learned about projections, and that's probably one of the most important learnings that I've learned in recent years. And if you spend time around me, like in person in real life, you'll hear me say this word projection, or you'll hear me talk about the universe being a mirror. And that's why I'm very passionate about this kind of topic. So I really wanted to come on and talk about it today. So I don't even know exactly where I first learned about projections, but I'm going to share with you where it first kind of came up with me in my life. So a couple of years ago, I was in a relationship, and this is November 2023, and we're going through some tricky times, and I had to talk with my mum about some things because my mum was always someone I enjoyed talking to about relationships and just getting a different perspective. And this is the first kind of memory I have in regards to projections. Obviously, I have a lot. Once I learned about it, there was more that I learned back in the past from my history with projections, but this one in particular was, I was going through stuff in my relationship, and I said to my mum, I said, Mum, I don't feel like my partner is very present with me when I'm with her, you know? I just don't feel like she's present with me. And my mum said to me, well, do you feel like you're very present with her? Like, do you feel like you're the most present person? And when I really thought about it in that moment, I thought, actually, I'm so worried about whether or not she's present with me that it takes away from me being present. So it was actually me that wasn't present. And my mum said to me, remember that the universe is a mirror. I remember this clearly. I was sitting in her room in her apartment on Waller Street, and she said to me, remember that the universe is a mirror. How you feel about others is usually how you feel about yourself, and vice versa. How others feel about you is actually how they feel about themselves too. So it really clicked, and I thought, damn, I'm so worried about whether or not she's present with me that it's actually taken away from me being present with her. So it was actually just a reflection of myself. It's like, it made me really realize, when my mum said the universe is a mirror, how I feel about someone is actually, that person is a mirror to me. So that person is reflecting that back to me about how I felt about myself. So another example, this was probably one of the ones that clicked with me most. And it was during last season, 2024 season. So not this year just gone, but the one before. And I started off the season really good. I started off playing good. I started the first 2 games of the year. I was playing solid minutes, and just like anything in sport, in life, it's a roller coaster, and things started going downhill again. My confidence started to drop. And I remember this one game, I only played like 32 seconds in the game because I went on, I made a mistake, and I got subbed off straight away. And I wasn't having the best couple of weeks of trainings and all that kind of stuff. And then the following week, the game came around again. And I remember this clearly. I thought, like, my confidence was real low. I wasn't ready. Honestly, I wasn't fussed if I didn't get on at that point, because I was like, fuck, I don't really back myself right now. And I don't really trust myself that if I go out there, I'm going to do a good job, because I'm just all in my head. And I was all in my head, and I wasn't feeling the most confident. And I remember someone was in foul trouble, and our coach came to the bench, and he was looking at who to sub in. And he was looking, and he was scanning the bench, and he goes, Marnie, you go. And the way he said that, it made me think that he didn't believe in me. And it made me think, fuck, he doesn't believe in me. He doesn't even want to put me on, because look, did you see the way that he just subbed me in? Like, he was like, oh, Marty, you go, like, kind of like I was the last resort. And it made me think, fuck, this guy doesn't believe in me. And I went in, and no word of a lie, keep in mind, I just played 30 seconds the week before. I went in, Very first play, I missed the coverage. Bang, look at the scores table. I'm getting subbed out straight away. And I didn't go on the court again. So I think I played that game like 27 seconds. So in 2 weeks, I played fucking 55 seconds. And my confidence was so low. And I called my mum a couple of days later and I was talking to her about it. And I said, Mum, I don't think he believes in me. And she said, well, do you believe in you? And I said, no, actually, I don't. Like, I was so nervous on the bench. I didn't actually want to be subbed in because my confidence was real low and I wasn't believing in myself. And my mum said, don't forget that the universe, and my mum said, remember that the universe is a mirror. So you think that your coach doesn't believe in you, but remember, it's really you that don't believe in you. And I was like, man, that was so true, because I was honestly sitting on that bench thinking, I hope I don't get subbed in because I'm not backing myself at all right now. And then when the coach when I saw the coach not believing in me, it was really myself not believing in me, but it made me feel better about myself if I didn't put that blame onto myself and I blamed my coach. So I was telling my mum, coach don't believe in me. He doesn't even trust me. He doesn't want to put me on. But really, when I look inside and I realized that my coach was holding up the mirror, this is what my mum said. My mum said, look, the coach is holding up a mirror for you and it's reflecting back how you feel about yourself. So you think coach doesn't believe in you, but really it's you that doesn't believe in you. And man, that hit me and that made me realize so much that the universe is a mirror, and how I feel about my coach and how I feel about other people is really how I feel about myself. So I didn't believe in myself and my coach could see that. And to add to this, once I learned this, I realized, damn, it is me. So I worked so hard for the rest of that year to rebuild my confidence. And I said I started off that season great. I actually ended the season better than I started, because after that, I realized that it was all me. I had to work on my own confidence and I had to put in extra work to regain my confidence again. And I realized that it wasn't my coach that didn't believe in me. It was me that didn't believe in me. And that's how I feel about social media too. That's how I feel about, I always used to fear judgment from others. I always used to think, if I put this post up, someone's going to judge me or someone's going to think this about me. And I realized that it was always me. It was always me that judged myself. I always used to think, oh, fuck, you look cringe or you look like a weirdo. And it's true. I do. Actually, it's not true about being cringe, but I do. Now that I've accepted that I have this weird side of me. Actually, yeah, it is cringe in a way. Once I accepted that I was cringe, I was free to be truly myself. But until I accepted that, I thought that other people were going to be judging me for it, until I realized that it was me judging me for it. Like, I know I have these weird fucking goofy tendencies. It's just naturally who I am. And until I accepted those in myself, then I thought that people were going to judge me for them. But it was really, because I hadn't accepted it in myself, it was me that was judging myself for it. So it was never about the other person. It was never about these other people thinking these people are going to judge me. It was always about myself judging myself. And it always just reflected, these people that I thought were going to judge me were actually holding up a mirror showing me that it was me that was judging me. So great learning. My mom really instilled that kind of thought process in me, and then I kind of just took off with it and I adopted it for my whole life. Like, so projections, huge learning. Another one is when I was younger, I'm still kind of on the skinnier side of body types. I'm just very lean. I've always been super skinny, and I've always hated that about myself. But I've hated it because, well, I hated it more so. I wouldn't say always. I hated it when I was younger because people always used to rub it in. People always used to say, oh, you're so scrawny. You're a skeleton. You need to have a feed. All these kinds of things. And I realized this as I got older, or as I've been learning about this, is when I was younger, I always used to call people fat that were fat. Like my brother, I always used to call him fat. I always used to call some of my friends fat. My dad, I always used to tell my dad he was fat. And I realized that it was because I was so insecure in my own body growing up. I was always so insecure about being skinny. People always rubbed it in, so I wasn't the most confident in my body. I always idolized athletes like Sonny Bill, who had fucking gangster physique and was in mean shape, and I always just wanted to be like that. But because I just had a fast metabolism and I wasn't lifting weights, so I didn't eat much back then, I realized I wasn't that. So I was so insecure in my body that I projected that onto other people. I remember being at school telling my friends and people that I cared about, like my dad and my brother and my friends, people that I genuinely cared about, that they were fat. And why would you want, like, how would I expect people to love me for who I am if I'm if I don't love myself for who I am, like I was so insecure about being skinny that it made me feel better about my body type to project my insecurities onto other people. Like that made me feel so much better about myself. An example that came up in the projections this year was that I never judge other players. Like I'll never talk about other players in basketball. I'll never talk about other players to my teammates, or I try not to anyway. And that's actually why this example came up, is that I realized they got to a point during the season, same shit as I talked about with last season in 2024, about the roller coaster. My confidence is up and down, up and down. Same shit this year. And I realized I went through a little phase this year again where my confidence dropped and I wasn't feeling the most sure of myself. And I started judging people, and I started talking about other players to my teammates. I'll be like, gee, that guy's ass, bro. Why does he get these opportunities? And I'm like, and because self-awareness is a great gift of mine, I realized that that's not me. That's not who I am, because I understand that everyone's on their own journey and I'm not a perfect fucking player. So why would I be judging other people for shit that they've done? So I realized when I was judging these people and saying, hey, this guy's not even that good, bro. That was fucking me saying, I'm not even that good, bro. Like the mirror, it was reflecting back how I felt about myself. As I said, my confidence was low at the time. I wasn't really believing in myself. And it made me feel better about myself to project that onto other people and try to shoot other people down, because there was a temporary satisfaction for myself that made me feel better about myself. So many learnings in this way. Like, actually, we had another talk later in the year. So when I talk about the connection piece, that was a bit earlier on in the season. That was a little bit earlier in the season. And then at the end of the season, I think it was like our last connection piece we had before the final. And we had to talk about something we'd learned that year. And Hiram came back and said, it was one of the important things that we'd learned that year. And Hiram came into the talk and said, one of the most important things I've learned this year was about projections. So it made me feel great to hear him say that, because I know how important learning about the mirror and learning about projections has been for me. It's helped me so much with my own self-awareness. Like I said, I knew that judging other players wasn't me. And so when I found myself doing it, I knew that that was just my own insecurities being projected. So self-awareness. It helps me not take things so personally. Like I shared on my Instagram last week about the dude that pushed in line at the coffee shop, and about how he kind of was, how he was projecting onto me, how he felt. He said some lines, and I honestly did not take it personally, because I understood that that's just how the bro felt about himself. Just like how I felt insecure with my body and I projected that. Like it's actually a good example. Last year, I was on live on TikTok and some dude came on, and I don't remember this. Like I remember this because it was a good example, and I write things down to use as good examples. Like I have some notes here of all the past examples of projections that I could talk about and use. And I remember this guy came on my live and he said something along the lines of this, like, you're an embarrassment to Māori because you're so skinny, and how people back in the day were strong warriors. And it helped me, and I didn't take it personally, because I understood, this is how I read, when I hear comments like that, or when I read comments like that on my Instagram or whatever, it helps me not take things personally, because I understand that that's just how that person feels about themselves. So I actually didn't read that comment as, oh, this guy thinks I'm skinny. How I read it is damn, this guy doesn't feel the most comfortable in his body. And what's going to make him feel better about that is projecting that onto Mane and projecting it onto me. So I actually read that. Like if someone says to me, someone said on my post the other day about me, when I said I didn't react at the coffee shop, someone has to comment and said, you're a soft cock. You're a soft cock. Oh, this is boring. He said your reaction was boring and you're a soft cock. And I don't read that as, oh, this guy's calling me a soft cock. This is how I read it as, and so quotation marks, because I'm reading it from what this person wrote. And I read it as this, is I don't know how to regulate my emotions. So when I see someone else regulating their emotions and handling a situation how I wish I could, it triggers my insecurities about myself. So that's how I read it from the guy's perspective. I don't read his comment as him calling me a soft cock. I read it as him telling me, he pretty much told me, this is what I mean about projections helps you not take things personally is you realize that it's only ever about that person. That guy pretty much told me, word for word, that he doesn't know how to regulate his emotions. And that's how I read it, is that he's projecting. He saw someone, me, regulate my emotions in a positive and calm way. And that triggered him because he wishes he could do that. And so how is he going to feel better about himself? By projecting his insecurities about not being able to regulate his emotions onto me. So if anyone ever comments on is what I said in the connection piece. If someone wants to comment on this podcast right now and say, I don't like your mustache is ugly. I would not read that as this person doesn't like my mustache. I would read that as this person doesn't like their own mustache. And so in order for them to feel better about themselves, they're going to project that onto me so they feel better. So it helps you not take things personally. You realize that any kind of hate message or nasty comment that someone leaves towards you is actually towards themselves. So if someone said, for example, I used to always be insecure about my nose. Like I always used to think my nose was too big. And that would make me, like I always used to talk about people's foreheads. I always used to talk about other people's insecurities, or I always just talk about other people's flaws, or that guy's got a big forehead or something like that, because that made me feel better about my big nose. So crazy example, but it's just crazy that a lot of this goes through our life. Like we go through a lot of this stuff unconsciously, without even realizing. Like I said, I had that conversation with my mum in November 23. I was 24 at that time. So 24 years, was I 24 back then? Yeah, 24. So took me 24 years to really I understood kind of what this stuff meant, because I've heard quotes in the past. I've heard quotes like hating people ain't happy and happy people ain't hating, and hurt people hurt people. And that's so true. Like once you realize that this person that is trying to hurt me is actually hurt themselves, that actually makes you feel some kind of sympathy or empathy for that person, because you realize that they're in a rough place. Like people say, like my dad says to me, how do you deal with hate comments when you get them? And I say, I actually feel for that person, because that tells me that that person isn't in a great place themselves. If someone says, if someone wants to say, you're out of it by putting yourself out there online, I actually feel for that person, because that tells me about them. I actually feel for that person. If someone wants to say, you're out of it for putting yourself out there online, I don't hear those words. I hear, damn, I wish I had the confidence to put myself out there like Manu does. I wish I could do that, but I can't, so I'm going to project that onto him. So that makes me feel for that person. I don't feel angry. I don't feel, fuck this guy. I wish every bad thing about this guy. Actually, I wish you would gain the confidence to put yourself out there too, because why would you want to live like that? Like, why would you want to live with that kind of hate in your heart and that kind of, like those kind of feelings? Like I honestly, genuinely wish positivity, kindness, empathy, sympathy on all of these people. I wish that you would get over these insecurities so you don't let them bog you down, because I realized, like I said, it bogged me down when I was younger by projecting my own hurt onto people. And so, it helps you not take things so personally once you understand that that person is exactly telling you how they feel about themselves, and you understand that you can feel for them in a way, because they must not be in a good place. And after all this talk with the connection piece and stuff like that and sharing about projections, Sam Gold, he said to me, Marns, is there such thing as like positive projections? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. And I realized this is that, and this is what I said to him, what you love and what you admire in other people and about other people is what you have in yourself. So I realized that I love people that put themselves out there, and I have so much respect for people that do videos online and embrace their authentic self online. And I thought, why do I love that about people? And that's because I have that in myself. I have that inside me. I put myself out there, and I realized that girls I'm attracted to are girls that are very sure of themselves, and they have the confidence, not like the I'm top shit, I'm the fucking, I do like that stuff too, to an extent. It's like what I talked about last week with balance. Like, here's too confident and here's not confident enough. You have to have that. But I'm also meaning girls that are like sure of themselves. And some good examples are girls that I've hung out with in the past and connected with and had great chemistry with. Yeah, like girls that I've had great chemistry with in the past and great connections with. And they've been like, I really enjoy being around people, but I'm just using the example of girls in the past, is girls that are really sure of themselves and they know who they are. And I realize that that's because I know who I am and I'm very sure of myself when I'm in my bag. Like I was talking about, the confidence comes in waves. When I'm at my peak confidence, like when I'm feeling really good about myself, I'm so sure about who I am. Like right now, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I trust my vision. I trust that I'm exactly where I need to be. And I feel very sure of myself. And that projects onto the outside world because I love people that are sure of themselves. In regards to the projections being positive too, like the same way that I read negative comments or negative messages is the same way that I read positive. Like I know that if someone's hating on me, that's a reflection of themselves. And I know if someone's loving on me, that's a reflection of themselves too. If someone says to me, people actually say this all the time. I love how in your videos you're so real. And what that tells me is that that person loves that in themselves too. So what I love in others, what I love about myself is what I love in others. And that's why I believe also, that's why I'm so big on being selfish in a way. Like you have to fill your own cup first before you can fill others. Like if I didn't feed myself with love and self-love and, like what I'm talking about, when I talk about being sure of myself, if I wasn't sure of myself, then I wouldn't be sure about others. But because I love myself and I treat myself with love and respect, then it helps me treat others with love and respect. And because I embrace being perfectly imperfect and I love myself unconditionally, that helps me love others unconditionally as well. So it's like what I said in my video last week when I said, as within, so without. If I cultivate love, peace, harmony in my own life, then that's how that's going to reflect into the outside world as well. That's what I'm going to see in others. If I show up with love in my life, then I'm going to see the love that others have to give as well. It's like perspective. Perspective, for example, how you feel about yourself is how you feel about the outside world. So if I'm embracing gratitude and I'm feeling really good about myself and I'm feeling really good about my internal world, that's going to reflect into my outside world. And I'm going to see that, man, that tree is so beautiful. Or, man, look at that sky today. But if I was feeling, oh, fuck, there's nothing to be thankful for and life is shit. If I was saying all these kind of words, that's how that's going to show up too. Like, oh, look at the gray clouds, I feel like a lot of life is perspective and it's about how you're actually feeling about yourself inside. So yeah, the universe is a mirror. This is, I don't always like to feel like I'm teaching something or offering advice, but if there is something to take away from this, it's to tap in with yourself. If you're judging someone, if you find yourself judging someone after you listen to this episode, then take a little second to pause and think, why am I judging this person? Or if someone's judging you, don't take it personally in a way. Think about, okay, maybe this person doesn't feel good about themselves and they're just projecting that onto me to feel better about themselves. So I feel like that can be the learning in this for other people, if that's what you want to take away from this. Again, I just like sharing what works for me. I don't ever like telling people what to do or offering advice because I understand that everyone's different. But like Hiram said, to help with him, it's helped with me so much. So maybe this can help with you as well, if you choose for it to. So this helps so much with your own self-awareness when you realize, okay, like I said, I don't judge people. So when I was judging people this year, I realized, okay, something ain't right within myself, And then it helps you also on the other end, not take things personally from others. You realize that it's just others' projections about how they feel about themselves. And good and bad as well. Good and bad. It goes both ways. Like everything, the law of polarity. Good and bad is not different. It's just separate ends of the same spectrum. So treating love and hate the same is kind of, in a way, working through projections as well. So such an important topic of my life and important subject that I really wanted to talk about and I really wanted to touch on was this because it's taught me so much and self-awareness is so key and it's helped me actually to gain more awareness about myself. So yeah, I hope you can take something away from this episode. Also, I'm not fussed if you don't. I just appreciate you for listening. And yeah, me just sharing my own thoughts. And I feel like I would be selfish to keep this learning from the world. I had to put this out here because it's helped me immensely. One of the greatest teachings I've ever learned in my whole life. I learned this through experience. My mum gave me some knowledge on this about the universe being a mirror, and I'm very grateful for these teachings, and I would be a disservice to my soul to keep these teachings to myself. So that's all I got to share for now. I appreciate everyone tuning in to another episode, and I'm really enjoying being back in this space. So I'll see you guys again soon. Peace and love always.